I want to start out by thanking the Washington Institute for giving me this opportunity, not least because it's been a special pleasure to work with both Bob and Rob on it. As Bob says, what I want to talk about is some of the specific direct benefits that the United States security interests get as a result of the relationship with Israel. And I think what it shows is that although there was a sort of caricature of that relationship as a strictly one-sided, the United States spends a lot of money, expends a lot of political and diplomatic, even military capital on protecting Israel and gets nothing in return, I think that's a gross distortion. And our analysis shows, I think, that the U.S. relationship with Israel provides us with significant direct benefits, and I want to run through a number of the specifics. One is in the military-to-military relationship. It is the case now, which was not the case at various times in the past, that there is a very close and cooperative relationship between the U.S. military and the IDF. There are joint exercises, joint training opportunities, exercises. There will be one at a quite substantial level, Marine Corps exercise coming up next year, will be the biggest in U.S.-Israeli history. And there have also been exchanges on military doctrine. Both the United States and Israel have, unfortunately, a fair amount of experience in counterterrorism and urban warfare operations, and the United States military has benefited from the opportunity to have exchanges and discussions of these issues at a quite practical level with IDF officers. Another is access to Israeli military technology. There are a number of areas in which Israel is one of the world's leaders, if not the world leader, in specific areas of technology. The most probably well-known is UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, where Israel is not the only country that is interested in them, but certainly Israel has taken the lead over a series of years, and that technology and that experience has been important for the American military. A specific area that I think is much less well known is armored vehicle protection. Some Israeli technology has been incorporated into the urgent, some would say belated, effort by the American military to develop technologies that would make American military vehicles of various kinds much less susceptible to IEDs and mines, and the incorporation of Israeli technology into some of these efforts has literally saved American lives in Iraq and Afghanistan. This area of this field of taking advantage of experience that Israel has had also applies in some Homeland Security areas. The one that I, mostly because of my personal views on this issue, am most interested in is TSA trying to learn from those of us who've been to Israel, understand the difference between a serious effort to maintain, to keep control of who gets on airplanes and a theatrical effort to maintain control of who gets on airplanes. And there is some indication that DHS is interested in a little more reality and a little less theater, and the Israelis have a lot to teach us on that front. Missile defense is a particularly important area of cooperation. It's not an exaggeration to say that Israel is the only country other than the United States that has ever made a serious effort, the Soviet Union aside, has ever made a serious effort to develop a ballistic missile defense system. And there's very close cooperation between the United States and Israel. The United States has put a lot of money into the Israeli efforts, but we've gotten important benefits as a result. Some of these are technological, but at least one very important one is operational. That is, there is, as I'm sure most of you know, an operational TPY-2 X-band radar now deployed in Israel that makes an important contribution to this whole concept of using the Aegis-based systems as the basis for a defense of our allies and friends in Europe, but also in the region generally. Israel also has made available to the United States, and the United States has paid a part of the price for, their development of defenses against short-range rockets and missiles. But the issue is not entirely one of technology. There are certain areas in which Israel has very important niche capabilities that the United States has made has made direct purchases of hardware. Those include some short-range UAVs, targeting pods, helmet-mounted sights, armor for mine-resistant vehicles, and there are other opportunities. Now, much of this is joint development, but it means that the United States gets access to something which in a way is more than price. It is experience and technology and practical knowledge of how to make these things work and work properly. And that's an important advantage. Probably the area where the cooperation is biggest and closest and least well known, and in spite of our distinguished records in public service, the ones where it's hardest to get the details, is intelligence. But the people we've talked to made clear that the United States-Israel relationship in the intelligence world is, for the United States, almost the closest in the world. Arguably, the British is closer. But the relationship with Israel is, although not without tensions, to put it mildly, in the intelligence world, is a very close one. Israel, we share a lot of information and assessments that the Israelis share with us. Israel has some unique advantages in terms of collection, access, linguistic and other skills, and also, I think, to some degree, a willingness to do things that we would be reluctant to do. So we get a lot of information. But there are also instances where active measures by intelligence agencies on the part of Israel have been very helpful to the United States intelligence effort. I suppose the most dramatic example of this is the information on the Syrian reactor and on North Korean support for it. There are areas where cooperation is starting, but are very much expected, because there's a positive attitude on both sides, that we will get access to Israeli experience and expertise in two particular areas. One is cyber defense and cyber warfare generally, and the other is what the jargon calls national resilience. That is the effort in the Homeland defense area not simply to prevent terrorist attacks, which is obviously a great thing if you can do it, but be able to roll with the punch and absorb the blow so that the terrorists are denied their most important objective, which is not so much the immediate damage as the after effects, the chaos, confusion, lack of cohesion in the society. There are also instances in which Israel has undertaken military operations that objectively, as our Soviet friends would have said, advance U.S. interests that for one reason or another the United States has not undertaken and is even perhaps unwilling to undertake. Some of this is pretty concrete, like acquisition of foreign military material, examples of hardware that the Israelis are able to obtain that they give us access to. But there are also actual operations. If, as many people believe, and I think is not strenuously denied, it was the Israelis who attacked the Syrian reactor, that's another example. And more importantly, in terms of the broader U.S. Position in the region, the fact that Israel and the IDF have such powerful military capabilities itself contributes to deterrence of actions that might be taken by other hostile countries who have to worry not only about American reaction, but about Israeli reaction. And that is an important benefit to deterrence. There are also instances in which Israel has refrained from actions that from the Israeli point of view were probably in their interest, but they were prepared to not do it in the name of broader American interests. One that I was directly involved with had to do with the Israelis' decision to repudiate their contract with the Chinese to build the Falcon airborne early warning system. Now, of course, this cooperation, what the Israelis make available to us, serves Israeli interests as well in almost all cases. And it's also true, and I think an important part of the context, that U.S. support for Israel and Israel's security serves U.S. interests. And that would be true even if Israel didn't do anything at all for the United States. There are reasons both of values and strategy why it is a good thing for American security that we stand by Israel. But I think it is important to bear in mind that there are real benefits. We are not arguing that Israel is somehow more important to the United States than the United States is to Israel, but that this is far from a one-way street, and that it is important to add this element to the discussion of the relationship between the United States and Israel so that it is not seen as strictly a kind of unearned benefit that the United States confers on Israel. Thanks.